Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the kitchen table. It's Alison Sowton here from the Melksham Team Ministry. How's your Wednesday? Showery, I expect, like mine has been today. I was having a conversation with Derek. I was pondering really what I was going to talk about from the kitchen table today, and as we were talking, we were thinking about how the world just feels like the whole place is full of squabbles. And I know that's a sort of playground terminology, and actually the reality of it is so much greater than that. But it does feel a bit like the world is angry and full of tension in all sorts of different areas. A recent study has shown that clergy are suffering more stress than they have ever suffered before. I think that's about them coping with a year where they haven't been with their flock, where they haven't been doing the things that they would normally do. It's all been on screen, and now there is an expectation to be doing that as well as everything else, and they're feeling stressed. Just like everyone else is feeling stressed, trying to work out whether to work at home, to go back to work, in the office, companies trying to work out the best way forward. Everyone is teetering on the edge of a new way of doing things as we step towards level 4 of the freeing up of the constraints we've had upon us. But when we think about how the world is and the pain that's within it, I was thinking about what that means for you and for me in our community here in Melksham and wherever you might live. How is your local council working together? Is there tensions there? There certainly seems to be tensions here. And of course we all jump onto social media and we write things, and we sometimes don't take the time that we might need to take before we make comments, whether it's about church or politics or life in general. There's so many of us turned into what might be classed as keyboard warriors, or might be classed as something else. It's so difficult, isn't it, to take and understand what's happening in a situation without having a two-way conversation where you can read the body language, where you can hear the full story, where everything is condensed into a few words or a few sentences rather than a conversation that needs to take place. Hard for all of us in that situation to get a real handle on what's happening and to listen to one another as we might. This morning, I took a service in St Michael's Church. It was a communion service. And as part of it, the readings were from both Jesus and Paul, both saying goodbye in a different situation. Jesus was telling his disciples he was going to be gone from them. And he was asking them to think about how they were behaving, to know that he was going to be still there with them. He would be their guide and their saviour always. But aware that there will be tensions and difficulties, and life isn't a walk in the park. The other reading was from Acts, where Paul had been on a journey spreading the good news throughout the world, and he was going to be returning to Jerusalem, knowing that he wouldn't see the church where the Ephesians worshipped. And he asked them to come to where he was, in Ephesus, ready to catch a boat to Jerusalem. And he wanted to say goodbye and to give them some warnings over how difficult things are. He asked them to be careful about who they listened to seek the truth, to avoid fake news, if you like. So all that time ago, they were being warned about holding fast to what was good and what was truth and what was right. Of course, working out what's good and what's truth and what's right is often difficult, and that's what leads to wars, the pain of Israel and Palestine. When you have nations set against each other, and you have pain which is generational, you have anger which is generational, and you have a misunderstanding of what each other needs. That's what leads to pain and anguish and war. That's what leads to pain and anguish in our politics, either nationally or locally. That's what happens when churches don't speak to one another, don't listen to one another, and get tension. In the Bible, we're told to, whenever you come across that kind of anger and frustration, we're told to actually go and talk to one another. And if talking to one person who's angry or upset isn't sufficient, then you talk 2 or 3 of you together. If that doesn't work, you have a whole community talk through what's happening. How do we do that in today's modern world where technology is king and conversations just don't happen the way they used to? Maybe we ought to get back to thinking about how we can really make those connections work. To maybe think about holding fast on the things that we might want to type down quickly in a bit of a strop, or with a justified anger, or whatever it is that leads us to want to do that. But to pause, to think about how that's going to affect the rest of the conversation and how it's going to build bridges to make relationships stronger rather than break them apart. And maybe we need to just get better at stopping, drawing breath, listening to each other, and then building a future that is the one that we want. So whatever our stresses and strains, whether we're a vicar, whether we're a politician, whether we are whatever you might be, and how our life is teetering on the edge of new times, let's take the time to be kind to one another, to listen to one another, and to build our future into all that it might be. Have a think about it. Spread some love. Do something nice. And the world does change when we change. Take care and God bless. Derek and I are going on holiday next week, so we won't be here at the kitchen table on Wednesday. We will probably have something up online for the following week, but if we don't get to it before we go away, then there are lots of other churches with things online. Do have a look around, see what you can find. If we can be, we will be here, but if not, be blessed by somewhere else. And we'll see you when we return. Take care and God bless. Bye for now.